Hello everyone, welcome to Open House. My name is Mr. Walton and I am going to be your son, daughter's 8th grade science teacher here for Liberty House. Just to save a little bit of time, I thought I'd show my syllabus. I've set it up as an infographic this year, which is a little bit different, but it does require some explanation. So bear with me here and please feel free to ask the real me, which will be in the room with you, to help you out if you have any questions. First thing, contact information. There's my email there, twalton@kusd.edu. 262-359-2240 is the school's number. I'll give you my individual number in person. And if you copy this web address here, that will enable you to receive text messages from me using Remind. Pretty nice tool, especially if you need to get on top of upcoming tests and homework and things like that. And also if you've got any questions for me. Also, it's completely private, so I can't see your telephone number. You can't see my telephone number. It's kind of a nice way to communicate. I guess I should mention first is that I do enjoy using lots of technology, lots of tools. So I've got some examples here. This is Quizlet. I use Google Classroom and everything related to Google. My wife sometimes jokes that I'm married to her, but Google is my girlfriend. Class Tools is another really cool site where you can actually make things that resemble games, actually, that like Pac-Man and things like that, and use them to help practice for upcoming assessments and so on. And Edpuzzle is a tool that enables students to use YouTube videos and respond to them as well. And if I can show you real quick, here is my Edpuzzle account, and I can actually pick, for example, a YouTube video, and then I can add questions, and it stops every so often through the YouTube video, and students are required to work together and come up with answers and so on. So I've got one here, Science of Macaroni Salad, what's in a mixture, rather good analogy, what's static electricity, the Doppler effect. I do use them quite a bit, and they really are a nice way to introduce students to information using some engaging information. This is simply a website called The Kids Should See This. This is just something I'd encourage all parents and students just to have a look at, because YouTube can be overwhelming somewhat, but this really picks out the coolest stuff related to science in particular. So here's one, a brand new one right here, Garden Orb Web Spider weaves its web in time lapse, glow in the dark bug puppet, simplified blower and furnace experiments, how technology worked back in the day. There really are wonderful, wonderful things here that are really interesting just to look at and then to investigate a little bit more. Finally, another website I use a lot is TED-Ed. It's related to TED, except they're more like animations that are very engaging and get students thinking about things related to, in my case, physical science. And some of the ones I've used here is How Small is an Atom, and it really puts it in perspective how small an atom really is. Actually going to be learning in science this year. This is from the Next Generation Science Standards. Essentially, we're going to be learning these 4 key things. So one is to do with matter, structure and properties, chemical reactions and nuclear processes. Also forces and motion, so motion and stability right here, different kinds of forces and interactions, and stability and instability in physical systems. And finally, energy. Energy is related to everything we do this year. What is energy? How is energy conserved? How is energy transferred? What's the relationship between energy and forces? And how does energy relate to chemical processes and chemical reactions in our everyday lives? Then finally, waves. Light waves, sound waves, electromagnetic waves, different kinds of waves, and how waves propagate that energy. So everything we do here is really connected to each other. So the things we learn at the start of the year are directly connected to what students learn at the end of the year. Next thing I'd like to just go through with you is some of the key questions related to what we were just talking about. Questions like, what are some common misconceptions about science and why are they wrong? There are many things we commonly believe to be true just because we hear it so many times that are actually not correct. And so we're going to be focusing on that. as I said earlier, focus on matter and energy and how they interact, how physical science is connected to your life. We'll be doing a lot about this. Students really learn best when they connect what's actually happening in their own lives to what we're learning about. So you can't get anything clearer or easier than physical science, because every movement, everything we do is related to matter and energy in some way. Also, how do these connect? And so that'll be another major focus this year. And also engineering and technology and math. How do these things connect to what we're going to be learning about in physical science? And yes, math is science and science is math. The two are very much directly connected and are necessary. Also, the application of science in technology and in engineering. There are so many neat ways in which we're using our knowledge of science to improve our lives. And finally, how do you use evidence and scientific reasoning in your writing? Writing and reading are two real key things that I try to develop in students throughout the school year. A focus on how to communicate and on how to decode information, just like in your English class. So my bottom line is your learning matters. It is important. I value it, and I encourage all students to think very clearly about how important their learning is and how important that might be. Few other things I could mention is my grading. I tend to use the 4-point system, so 4 out of 4 is 100%, that's an A+, and that equals mastery, and that shows an advanced understanding. That's pretty impressive when students are able to do that first thing. 3 out of 4 is a B+, that shows a solid understanding and proficiency. 2 out of 4 is a C+, that's a 79%. Again, that's a C+, and you'll be approaching that proficiency. You've almost got it. Anything below that, so let's say there's a D or a D+, that would be shown in my grade book as on Infinite Campus as an incomplete grade, and students are encouraged to continue to plug away at that, try at it in different ways and show me in a different way how or if they understand it. And once they do show that understanding, then they have the opportunity of earning that C, that B, or even that A. Another thing I should mention here is that when students do this work, they have more than one opportunity. I don't grade everything. I may give students lots of feedback and lots of information, but there may only be a grade for a certain thing that shows me what students understand, because that's the whole point, is to show your learning. And I will give students many opportunities to redo that. So if it's necessary or if they wish to redo it, they have that opportunity. And I will accept the best grade or their best understanding that is shown directly from what we've learned. And that could be a test, traditional test, that could be a project, that could be a paragraph, that could even be something that the students express in class. It could even be an exit slip that we use quite a lot at the end of each of the classes. So this could be just about anything, but I tend to pick and choose what those major assessments or what those assessments of learning are, and it certainly isn't everything that the students do. Learning opportunities. There's a variety of assessments. The key thing with these assessments is that they show me what students understand, and those assessments should be directly connected to what students have learned. I'm not going to try and trick students with an assessment on something I just haven't mentioned, or we haven't learned about, or we haven't discussed. Students will be working in groups and collaborating with each other. That is often used with the use of technology. As I just mentioned earlier, it's an incomplete grade until it is that level, that C grade, that B grade, that A grade has been shown to be understood, and that certainly isn't necessarily the first time or the first revision that students do it. We can't always hit it out of the park the very first time we learn about something, and I don't expect that. Technology is ubiquitous. It is everywhere. I do use it quite a bit. I can't pretend to be the world's most fantastic user of technology, but I'm certainly an enthusiast and I like to use it, and I think the students get something from it. I do value your feedback. I would like you to tell me when something isn't working and explain why it doesn't work and give me an option for a better strategy that we could use. I'm more than happy to steal ideas from other teachers. So if you've got one, tell me about it. There are opportunities for hands-on activities in grade 8 in science, because it's physical science. The best way, one of the best ways to learn is really to do it and to find out using the scientific method, if I can say that, and to use labs and experiments to actually observe, and from those observations get an understanding of what's actually going on. And my promise is that there'll be at least one lab every week. Many weeks there'll be more than one. Reading and writing does matter in science. To connect with what we were talking about earlier, with the connections to students' lives and to engineering and technology and so on, I do choose an article each week that is connected to science, that students have an opportunity to closely read. Just like in your English class, you read it very carefully, you read it very thoroughly, and you identify information and explain your responses to that. So reading and being able to read effectively and being able to express yourself succinctly using evidence and reasoning is important in science. Science is an academic subject that involves English. And finally, science and math and English are all connected. It really is, our observations, our measurements that we get, that evidence that we gain in science is math related. And so therefore we do use graphs and tables and data to show our understanding. Grades will reflect what you've learned. Your quarter grades will be weighted 70% assessments, 15% classwork, 15% warm-ups. So as you can see, it's weighted towards the assessment side there. However, I will be taking sort of like daily things in terms of participation. So bring into class up here. I don't ask a lot, but these things are an absolute must. Please bring reading material. Please bring a binder or a folder or a book or whatever it is you use. Pens, pencils are necessary, and earbuds. For me, it really is a biggie. So again, bring your earbuds, headphones, whatever, with you in class. It does help you when we use the Chromebooks, which we will be quite a bit, to be able to work sort of independently and not to be distracted from other students. Logical consequences, my final section right here. Students, if they do forget a pencil or a pen, I will ask them to give me a shoe. Okay, so I give you the pencil, student gives me the shoe, and then pencil is returned to me and I return the shoe, and then pencils are not left all over the classroom and so on. As I said, A, B, C grades and an incomplete grade until that work is completed. A C grade is the minimum evidence of learning for me. Catch up on major assessments in school or at home. It really doesn't matter, but there will be times when students, either through absence or whether something is missing, will need to catch that up. That is their responsibility to use Infinite Campus to access that information. At this moment, I should also say to students and parents, information will be available on Google Classroom. Parents, this year, if you give me your email address, I will add you as like a fifth class, like a fifth block, so you can see sort of in real time what I've given the students. So you can actually see that. That might not be something for all of you, but some of you might want to be able to have access to that. So you can actually see in real time what's going on, and there's none of that, when did this happen? Was this 2 weeks ago? Was it 3 weeks ago? You can actually see it in real time and keep your tabs on things if you wish to. More than one opportunity to succeed. That's a really big one for me, and students, I really encourage you to take me up on that. That's an opportunity for you to first learn, and then secondly to show your learning. And as I said, you can do that if you wish on most things. I can't promise everything, but certainly on those major assessments, yes. You are able to practice and revise your learning if necessary. Sometimes things that we write initially need to be developed. I will recognize your success by students. I'd like to know best way to recognize your success. I know we have bolts from my perspective are great, they're easy to do, but if there's something that you would really value, either as an individual or as a class, I'm willing to discuss it with each block individually. So block 1, if you think that, I don't know, candy is the way to go, or block 2, if you think it might be some kind of free time on a Friday or whatever, talk to me about it, and that can be the thing that we can be our reward or